Hey readers, welcome to another episode of Not Reading for Content. Every Friday in November, Danni and I will be holding discussions regarding books, whether it be recommendation videos or any other type of thematic episode that comes to mind. We hope that you are as excited as we are for today's discussion, in which we discuss our TBRs. So the first thing we're going to cover is what we're currently reading. So we are recording this at the end of October. So we have a few books that we are hoping to finish before the end of the month. And then we have our November plans, our stack of books that are sitting in front of us, and we'll go over them book by book. And hopefully a couple of them will be added to your own TBR. But first and foremost, let's discuss what we are currently reading. Danni, what is on your currently reading stack?
So at the end of October, I do get in the spooky season, really all of October. I love to read horror and mysteries and just things that have fall vibes. So I am reading two books currently. I'm reading When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, which is a horror book featuring a woman who is running from something that is occurring with this little boy that she doesn't really know. And there are bad things that are happening. They essentially leave chaos in their wake. And Nat Cassidy is an author that I really loved in the past. So I'm excited to get back to his writing. And then the second book I'm reading is actually a recommendation from you, which was Three Bags Full. And it is a mystery where the sheep that are in this flock, their shepherd is murdered. On page one, I think they see him with a spade sticking out of his chest. And the cleverest sheep in the flock, Miss Maple, has decided to take it upon herself and the flock to solve the mystery, and we get to solve it through their eyes, which has just been very fun to be in a sheep's perspective and see what they think of these human antics that are going on around them. It's very amusing. I really like it.
Oh my gosh, that warms my heart. I'm so glad that you are enjoying that book. And it can be a bit overwhelming with all of the different sheep perspectives, but they become so distinct. And while I also enjoy the mystery, it's the sheep's personalities that really just shine and make it so fun. So, that's lovely to hear. Meanwhile, I am reading a book that is within my comfort zone and one that is outside of it. And I'm a little bit surprised that I'm enjoying both. So the first book that I'm further into, even though I'm only still like 66 pages in, is The Red Lamp by Mary Roberts Reinhardt. Now, this is a classic crime novel that is described to be mixed with Gothic romance. I think part of that is because it's written in epistolary form through the journal entries of this professor who has inherited a house that is supposedly haunted. His uncle recently died. There are questions about whether he really died of heart failure or of fear because of what is going on with this red lamp. And there are some really sinister things happening in the neighborhood. The police are sniffing around, and our main character, our narrator, he's already kind of unraveling, trying to understand what's going on and how deep of water is he even in already with this red lamp. And I'm just really enjoying it. I read the album by Mary Roberts Reinhardt thanks to Battle of the Booktuber, hosted by you, Danni. And so now I'm determined to return to this author sooner rather than later. And I'm glad that I have. I'm usually not that big of a fan of epistolary. It can be hit or miss, depending on how personal the writing is. I know that sounds really
Yeah.
strange, but I am enjoying that. And then the book that's more outside of my comfort zone, even though Gothic really isn't in my comfort zone either, is Memoirs of a Polar Bear. Now, this was on my self-destruct TBR for 2025. So another form of the TBR where you put a bunch of hopefuls in a stack and say, hey, I'm going to read this in the next 12 months. If I don't, I have to unhaul it. Sometimes we lie. I may not actually unhaul these books, but I do think that it's helped motivate me pick this up because it would have just sat on my shelf for the rest of the year as well. It's by Yoko Tawada. Now, this is a Japanese author. I assumed that it was translated from Japanese, but I just discovered today when I was looking at the translation information that it's translated from German, because she did move to Germany in her late teens, early 20s. And so she does write in Japanese and German, but she wrote the story in German, which I think is very fascinating. And it is also, I just realized this connection. Oh my gosh, why did I just realize that while discussing this? But this is also epistolary form in a way, because it's from the perspective of a polar bear who is writing down her autobiography. Like, she is writing down her memoir while also trying to investigate elements of her childhood that either she has suppressed due to trauma or just because she hasn't remembered them. And so she is writing memories down on paper, trying to sift through her feelings about it, while also we get her perspective as it's a bit of surrealist writing, kind of absurdist, because this bear is like an office manager. Like she used to work at a circus and now she is just part of society. And so she's straddling this perspective of animal and what we deem to be person. And
Mhm.
I do find it quite interesting. It's written also in vignettes in a way. So it is a little bit like separated. We get shards of memories and things, but I am liking it so far, but I'm really only 15 pages in, so it's early days.
It sounds good though. It sounds almost whimsical, but also where you could be like real world-ish too and have some really meaningful themes. I'm assuming there's gonna
Yeah.
be some things regarding climate just because we're dealing with a polar bear, I'm thinking, but maybe
Yeah,
not.
and I'm just prepared. I'm probably gonna cry. Like I think that when it's an animal who's interacting with humans as well, we've already experienced the harm that humans can do towards animals, as far as just like mistreatment. And you know, she was in the playground and the kids were bullying her, and so, but for some reason, bullying an animal, even like a human, by like name calling her, like made me more upset than it would be like a human child. And maybe I need to look in myself and be like, huh, Leandra, what does that mean? But I do think that it's going to be an emotional story because, you know, the polar bear is just analyzing humanity as well from like an outsider's perspective. And I think that that allows a bit more investigation versus a human looking at the human condition. It's like the polar bear asking what would make me enough, you know, to be respected by humans and also to deserve happiness, I'm assuming, because she did start off as a circus attraction. And we've already gotten little bits of that, which are, you know, kind of hard to read. Nothing horrific on page as far as being really strong descriptions, but you kind of know what's going on. And yeah, so I think it's just going to be kind of sad, but also beautiful. There's been lines that I'm already thinking, ooh, that was really lovely and really thought provoking.
Yeah. It's funny that we're both reading, books that are animal perspectives. I
What is
didn't think
going
about that
on?
until
All of the connections. Yeah, and we're both reading like so I thought there was an interesting connection with reading two epistolary like novels together. But now you found a connection between you and me where we are following animal perspectives. And the other book you're reading is spooky horror and my gothic mystery is discussing a haunting. Ooh, talk about spookiness. Like that's really weird that we are connected even though we're reading completely different books.
not surprised.
You're right. We shouldn't be surprised at all. But let's move on and discuss what we should be reading in November and see if we can make any more connections. Let's see if our similar reading tastes, our plans kind of meld into November. The first book that I am hoping to read is actually, I'm going to reorganize my stack of books here. The first book I'm hoping to read is actually Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, one of the classics in her canon. I think it's a little bit less appreciated compared to titles like Pride and Prejudice or Emma, Sense and Sensibility. I just named all of the titles I've read by Jane Austen, so maybe I'm biased, but I'm really excited to read this one, mainly because I ended up really enjoying Claudia Gray's reimagining of the Jane Austen canon in murder mystery form with Juliet Tilney, the fictional daughter of the parents in Northanger Abbey. And so I want to see if I enjoy this story, and I'm really looking forward to it. Plus, another second reason for why I'm picking this up is because Jane Austen's birthday is December 16th. So while I hope to read this in November, it's in anticipation of the 250th anniversary of Jane Austen's birth. Isn't that crazy? She was born
It's
December
really
16th,
cool.
1775. And now 250 years later, I feel like this is a small way to honor that woman.
That is a Jane Austen that I have considered reading myself, and I have not. I read Pride and Prejudice years and years and years ago, but that's the only Jane Austen I've read. So, but that is one that I've considered reading. I haven't gotten to it yet though, so you'll have to let me know your thoughts. It might convince me to pick it up sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I have a feeling for some reason I think it's going to be my favorite. And I'll say that Pride and Prejudice is my least favorite in my rankings. So that's, I mean, I know that Pride and Prejudice is the one that is usually everyone's favorite. But because of that, I feel like Northanger Abbey might be the favorite of those who aren't big Jane Austen fans. It gives me that feeling. It's a little bit romantic, and I think they say that there's some satire regarding the Gothic literature, like discussion and
Yeah.
era. And I feel like that would be quite fun. Plus, the main character, I believe she ends up being a writer. So I don't know. I think I'm going to enjoy it more than some of the more well-known Austen books.
Yeah. I hope you're right.
Cross our fingers, but what's first on your TBR?
I am trying to focus on my physical TBR the next couple of months actually, because one of my goals this year is to get my physical TBR down below 20 books. And right now I'm in the 30s, so hoping I can get there. The first book on my TBR for November is The Poison Song by Jen Williams. This is the third book in the Winnowing Flame series. And I'm reading this with Kirsten from Reading Nymph, and I'm very excited to be able to actually finish this series. So this hits multiple goals. It's a physical TBR book, it's a series continuation, and it's a series finale. So I'll be able to mark a series off my list. It's also a TBR veteran. I think this might be one of the oldest series that I own in my collection. Not that it's like super old. I think it was published in like the 2000, I think Winnowing Flame the ninth reign, which is the first book, I think was published in like 2017, maybe. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I don't, because I don't have that book in front of me. But I have owned these the longest in like my large collection. So one of the first series that I purchased. This is a series regarding a whole bunch of different entities coming together in a world that apocalyptic things are starting to happen. So you have three main characters. You have a character who is an Eboran, which, for lack of a better descriptor, is kind of an elf vampire. You have to read the book to understand the context of why I would call him kind of a vampire as well. You also have a scientist who is a human, and then a fell witch who can literally take life magic from people and create green flame. But there is these things that are happening in the world that show something bad is coming, and they're trying to find their history and the way out of the events that are happening. But a lot of their history was destroyed because of some things that are going on with the Eborans. And I really loved it. I think Jen Williams is just really creative in her fantasy worlds and creating scenes that are both gripping, and some of the creations, like the people that are the bad guys, I guess, in this are just a little horrifying as well. So a little bit of that mixed in.
Ooh. So that's actually a good blend from, horror season into, the end of the year and also finishing goals. Love to see it. Meanwhile, my next book isn't helping with any of my goals because it's going to be a reread. And I'm going to be reading Murder for Christmas by Frances Duncan. Now, I ended up reading this last year for the first time. It is another classic crime narrative, and this one is set during winter. I really enjoyed it last year. The setting was just the perfect party at Christmas Eve, this large estate, and we end up having a murder. And the murder victim ends up being someone we all know, Santa Claus. He is under the tree, and he's not a gift to us. He is dead, and we now need to figure out who killed him. How dare they? And I really enjoyed the tone. I felt like I was in good hands with the detective. And really, the main reason I'm rereading this, and I'm not complaining about it, because I could see this becoming a staple where there's a couple Christmas mysteries where eventually, when I stop trying to make all of these goals happen by the end of the year, maybe I'm so ahead I don't have to worry about it. I can just sit and reread my favorites for the Christmas season. That's the goal of mine. But this, I'm reading it for another book club that I host for the Manor, for only Christie in the book club. We're reading it a little bit early in November, which I'm fine with. And I'm hoping everybody enjoys it. I know I will, because it was already a 5-star for me. So I don't see anything changing. But I'm excited that I have at least one very wintry book on my list in
Mm,
November to kind of get
yeah.
me in the mood, because I don't think anything else is very wintry. It's just something I want to read that happens to be in the month of November. You know, there isn't actually a winter setting in here except for this one.
Interesting. And a rereading can be a goal. It might not be one that you've vocalized, but maybe, revisiting favorites. That can be a goal for the end of the year. I
That's
love that.
true. And it could simply be a goal of allowing myself to do it, like rereading,
Yeah,
appreciating old books, books that we've already liked beforehand. That if that's important to us, then that in itself is achieving something. Especially because as much as we want to read all of the new books, all the books on our TBR, the ones that we already know we love, they deserve more love. We should go
exactly.
back and get those easy wins. So I agree.
For sure. That actually kind of relates to my next read. So, The Delicate Dream Department Store was a book that I reread here on the podcast. And while I will not be rereading that first book again this year, I will be continuing on with the sequel, The Delicate Dream Making District. So, I'm very excited to get to this. I've been, chomping at the bit because ever since it popped in my mailbox, I've been wanting to read it. And I do think that I will get to it before the end of November. So I think it'll be a short little read to put in with some of my chunkier books that I have on my TBR. It's very lighthearted, and I'm just excited to get back into this world. If you guys didn't join us for the Delegate Dream Department Store, you should check out those episodes because it was very fun. It's a book regarding a main character who works at a retail store who sells dreams, and it's so much more than that. They go into the usefulness of dreams and the people who work at the store really wanting to help people, the struggles that even your animal companions in your home have with sleep. And I really loved it. So I can't wait to get back to this world and figure out what the sequel's all about.
I'm so jealous. I also happen to now own the second copy. It was gifted to me. And it was honestly, we'll have to maybe one of our episodes before the end of the year should simply be reflecting on the year and maybe talking about our favorite books that we read and just looking back at, how the book club did. Because I'm guaranteed to say that the Delegate Dream Department Store was one of my favorite months. We had such good discussions. It was
Me
such a good book.
too.
Yeah, it was good. So eventually I'm going to get to that sequel as well, but you're definitely going to beat me. And I can't wait to hear you gush about it because that's the only thing that I'll accept, by the way. I'm only accepting if we both end up loving it. So there we are. Switching gears a little bit from kind of cozy comfort, I also will be adding The Bog Wife
Ooh.
to my TBR for November. It's by Kay Chronister. Now, it is a new release for this year, but I think it came out in the spring of 2025. And I'm intrigued by it because I'm obsessed with bogs. I think that they're mysterious, and I've read quite a few books that feature them, and I just am always enjoying that setting. And so, naturally, The Bog Wife, tell me more. The one thing that I think is interesting and not an area of literature that I really look into very deeply is I'm wondering if this is going to be maybe leaning Southern Gothic, or I'm just getting that vibe because of the setting, because it's also horror. So I don't know if it's going to be Southern Gothic horror, but it says that in this atmospheric Appalachian Gothic, the Hadsley siblings of West Virginia unearth long buried secrets when the supernatural bargain entwining their fate with their ancestral land is suddenly ruptured. So I'm imagining that maybe someone emerges from the bog that maybe is relating to their ancestors in some way. I really haven't read too many books set in West Virginia specifically. I've read books involving the Appalachian Trail because I find that very fascinating, but usually they are nature leaning nonfiction. And so we'll see how it goes. But I haven't had amazing luck with Southern Gothic, but I don't think I've read enough to say I don't like it.
Right.
I think my relation with it is also academic. I've only ever
Mm.
really read Southern Gothic analytically in a classroom, and sometimes that is a detriment, I'll say. Depending on the classic, depending on what we're discussing, it can either make me love a book more, love an area of literature more, or unfortunately, I find it a little bit grating. And so this will be a really good test because I think it'll be the first time I try Southern Gothic outside of the classroom.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it can definitely color your opinion of I almost think that it reminds your brain, like, this was something I used to study, or it feels like something I used to study. And so then it feels more like a chore than it does something that you can enjoy. And so, yeah, it absolutely can affect your reading experience. You almost have to like shock yourself out of it and hopefully find something that you'll absolutely love. I too am obsessed with bogs. So if you love that one, I might have to pick it up.
Oh, I'll definitely let you know. It's just they're so cool. I don't understand them, but they're really lovely. Anyway, they can slowly kill us. So we gotta respect it.
Yes. I'm gonna jump back into the cozy realm because apparently, I'm just going like I literally put the stack on my desk and I'm just going in the order that I put them in. I had no thoughts as to the order, but I will be reading Black Powder War by Naomi Novik. This is the 3rd book in the Tamaraire series. So another
Okay.
series read for me, another physical TBR book. If you guys haven't heard of Tamaraire, it's just so sweet. I This is the series that I started reading after I finished His Majesty's Dragon is the first book in this series. The series I'm thinking of is The Natural History of Dragons by Marie
Okay.
Brennan, which is also kind of historical fantasy. It's a little cozy, light academia, and after finishing that series, I was in a little bit of a series like dragon coma. I wanted like a cozy dragon book, and this series has taken that one's place as far as my reading goes. This features a dragon who is hatched on a ship, and you will learn very quickly that in order to quote unquote tame dragons, you have to harness them and give them a handler within like hours of them hatching. They did not anticipate this dragon hatching on the ship, and so the ship's captain actually steps forward to become his dragon handler. And neither one of them wanted this life. The dragon probably, wanted to be free, and the ship's captain wanted not to be I don't want to say condemned because that's not the right word, but like stuck with this dragon because essentially they bond one another, and it's hard to hand off a dragon to another human, if that makes sense. But the relationship that is formed between this dragon and this man is so sweet. They care so much for one another, and they're just trying to get through life, figuring out how things are going to work. They're in a war-torn country. It's actually set in our world where England and France are at war, and so we have to deal with the politics from a historical setting as well. I really enjoyed it. It's very sweet. I love it.
I do want to try that as well. I distinctly remember when you were reading His Majesty's Dragon and telling me about it. I've never read anything by that author before. I've also been meaning to. It's a fairy tale reimagining winter setting book by that author. And I can't remember,
Spinning
it's Spinning
Silver.
Silver? Yes. So I've thought about picking that up, but His Majesty's Dragon also sounds really good, especially because as you know, I really enjoy light academia. I really enjoy historical fantasy. That's been a bit of my gateway into fantasy. And so I'm gonna have to add it to my list eventually. And then I'm going so out of my comfort zone in a way, and something that I don't really see you like immediately picking up yourself. For instance, I think this would be a book that would be out of both of our comfort zones. Less myself, but more so in the last couple years, I haven't been gravitating towards this. And this is Endling by Maria Riva. This is contemporary literary fiction. It is set in Ukraine in 2022, I believe, and it follows these sisters. They embark on the journey of a lifetime across hundreds of miles. These two sisters and another woman. Three angry women, a truck full of kidnapped bachelors, and Lefty, a last of his kind snail with one final shot at perpetuating his species. Because one of the women, she's a scientist, she's a maverick scientist who is determined to save this one snail population, this one snail species. And so, to my understanding, this does lean climate fiction. And the literary element I have enjoyed in literary sci-fi and literary cli-fi before, so I don't think it's that much of a departure. But I also just haven't really read anything like this in a long time. But I saw another creator discussing this. He goes by Savage Reads on YouTube, and the way he described it, I was just like, "Hi, this sounds lovely. It sounds so important," and so I'm very excited about it. So we'll see. But I have a feeling that if anything, I'll be reading For the Snail Named Lefty. Like I think that that's going to be the main thing I care about, and I'm not mad at it.
As soon as you said the name, I was like, "Aw, that's cute."
I know, and why is his name Lefty? I'm sure there's a weird reason for that.
Yeah, I wonder if he always goes to the left, he just goes in a circle.
Yeah, he just keeps turning left naturally and leaves his little, like, slime trail.
It does sound interesting. I will, live vicariously through you, though. Literary fiction typically doesn't work for me, but it does sound lovely.
Yeah, I think it'll be an important narrative,
Yeah,
especially,
for sure.
with everything going on in the world too. If it feels like something that you would enjoy, that you could get through and be like, "Okay, I really appreciate this," I'll let you know, but I'll
Yeah,
also be honest and say, "You know what? I'll give you the lowdown about all the amazing things, and yeah, you basically read it through me."
understood. I appreciate it. The next book on my list is one that I know that you want to read, and it's actually one that we've talked about recently in the podcast, and that is Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie.
Mm.
I'm really excited to get to this, and I have already read 10% of this. This is one of the books that I put on that list as a potential for our next read that I would restart the book because for whatever reason, it wasn't because I wasn't liking it. I stopped at 10% and then just never continued. And I knew I wasn't giving it a fair chance and I wanted to come back to it. This book, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but we have our main character. Her name is Breck. And I believe she is some type of AI. Originally, a ship that is quite literally billions, I don't know if billions is right, it's probably smaller than that, thousands of little AI units that could leave her ship and go and travel to different worlds, and they could all communicate. And now the ship has been dwindled down to one AI whose name is Breck, and she's traveling around. You have like a dual timeline going on before when she had a whole bunch of bodies, and then you have the timeline where she only has one. And I don't quite know how she got to that point, but I'm interested to find out. I really enjoyed the writing style, and I'm looking forward to maybe continuing another series because this is a series. And so I'm not helping my series goal with this one, but I am helping my sci-fi need to read another sci-fi before the end of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a book you've been meaning to read. It's on your physical TBR, I believe, right? You said so. Like, yeah, I support it. You got to read it, and that is an author I also do definitely want to return to because I really did enjoy the Raven Tower, and so I might be following quickly in your footsteps with that too. But similarly, I'm trying to focus on my physical TBR as well. I have it sprinkled in a couple library books because you got to treat yourselves once in a while, but I am also determined to focus on my physical TBR. So I respect it. And I love the idea of like an AI robot main character, as you know. So please live this sci-fi journey because I support it. Now, my final book is one that we are reading in November, but it's for December. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, then you know what I'm about to say. The book that is my final book that I'll be talking about for my November TBR is the Sittaford Mystery. Now, I have a Bantam Classic edition, and I believe that means it's the US title, which is Murder at Hazelmoor, is what it says on my copy. And I'm excited. This is actually going to be a wintry mystery for us. I think it's going to be a little bit spooky, so a nice transition from our October read. And I mean, Agatha Christie's writing is just so easy and palatable and very fun. I think that she does a great job of just keeping you guessing, and then you're just in for a bit of a wild ride. But it's not too convoluted. I feel like she's not trying to trick you in any like crazy way. And the red herrings are fun. The characters are fun. So I'm excited. This is going to be my first time reading it. It's going to be your first time reading it, Danny, which should be very fun. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be a quick read, but I think that that's perfect for you because you've got some chonky reads on your list. Because this is also obviously on Danny's TBR too. Meanwhile, it's just one among many short books for me, but that's not surprising because I love a short book. But this is something that I've had on my TBR for quite a few years at this point because I had this and many other Bantam editions just gifted to me, and they've just been collecting dust. So I'm excited that I get to take off a TBR veteran from my bookshelves.
I'm excited as well. This will be our first Christie buddy read together. I'm sure not our last.
Oh, over my dead body. It better not be our last.
Well, I will add my last TBR book, and I am absolutely grateful and very excited to read the Sittaford Mystery for the podcast and also with you. And I did need a short book in my list because this next one kind of takes the cake for chunkiness. And it is also a book that's been on my TBR for a very long time.
Oh
This is
no.
Ruin by John Gwen. And I mean, it's
It's the size
huge.
of your face.
I have really enjoyed the Faithful and Fallen series. I've actually read 2 series by John Gwen, the Bloodsworn Saga, which I still need to finish. That could be a potential TBR book. We'll see if I end up getting to that one. I'm just gonna focus on one John Gwen for the month of November because if I read 2, I might be a little bit burnout with chunky reads, even though I love them. The series has featured 2 main characters. You have a young boy who is kind of like I don't want to call him a stable hand, but he's very young in a village that everyone knows him. His dad is a blacksmith, and I can't remember what his mom does in the village, but you know from the start there's something going on as far as his destiny, quote unquote, because he seems to have a lot of things happen around him that maybe seem kind of important, and people treat him a little differently. There's also an animal companion in this. The second main character is the prince of a king that is roaming the countryside and there are talks of war. You have some kind of things that are leading to maybe him being, I don't know if he's gonna be a bad guy, a good guy. I don't wanna give you guys too much information, but lots of like epic fantasy rumblings within this series. There are a ton of characters. So I definitely, if you guys are gonna give this one a try, I would recommend having the physical copy because John Gwen's actually really good about leaving a character list in the beginning of the books to kind of remind you the importance of characters, how they're related to one another, what happened to them in the previous books. So I'm excited to continue with this series because this is even the end.
Just a continuation of a chonky series. One that I'll say something similar that you said to me earlier. I will live vicariously through you. Probably isn't something that I'll read, but more power to you. So many pages in your future. So many pages in both of our futures, actually. We'll have to see and keep you all updated on how we progress with our November TBRs. We're going to cross our fingers, but at the end of the day, if we don't get to these books, they will be waiting for us another month for another TBR. Let us know if you want to write in, leave comments about what's on your TBR for November, how your November is going, because by the time that you listen to this, it'll be about halfway, nearly halfway through November, and we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, we've got books to read, and we hope that you've got good books in your future as well. Thanks, everyone. See you next Friday. Bye.